Alright, one last ditch effort to see if I can get this to work, and if not, we will call it a night on the streaming and try to get those painted on just an old-fashioned video and uploaded. Give me just a moment here, and I need to do some editing on something. We will call it a night on the streaming and try to get those painted. Oops, you probably heard me talking to myself through my microphone. Edit. Just doing some work real quick. Alright, let's get this kicked off, see what happens. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and I go back into recording mode for the night. So, alright, 2 Sabine models. We're going to go ahead and get started. First thing we're going to do, we're going to get some paint on her pants. So, we're going to use my... Gotta get it out of my paint rack. We're going to use Oak Brown from Army Painter. I've already got some on my palette, so I don't need to actually get any out of the bottle. But, as you'll see on my wet palette now, my fancy dancy new wet palette cam, hopefully things are streaming well enough. I'm just going to rock with it. I did some last minute edits, settings edits, and maybe that fixed a few things. Let me know if things look better if you caught the other 2 streams by chance. So, alright, Oak Brown, onto the pants. And I don't know why I grabbed this brush, this isn't the one I normally use. But we'll make it work for now. Hopefully what I'm seeing in the video looks to be better than the other streams. So maybe we got that problem resolved. So, I've got these 2 Sabines. Got my fancy new palette cam. Let you all see what I'm doing up there as I'm getting paint and doing fancy mixes if I need to, or other things. Managed to pick up one of them off that Prime Day sale, and it was finally delivered today. Alright. I'm not trying to be too neat with the pants yet. Just painting them up. Oh, I forgot to do the belt and all the other stuff on the other one, so we'll do that. Let me scoot over so I get into the camera here. So the new camera I picked up was another Logitech 920, C920 or something like that. You know, the kind of the go-to for the streaming community. I had a C922 already, but they wanted something. They wanted like an extra $30 for the 922, and so went ahead and grabbed that C920, and it seems to be working just as well. That's the other one. I did downgrade my palette cam to 720p just because it doesn't necessarily need to be as high detail as what I'm painting on the miniature. So, let me know how things are looking if you're watching. I even did a test stream before I came live tonight, and everything worked fine. So I'm not sure what happened. Oh well. Let me get the leathers on her over here, and then I need to check a message on my phone for a second. So, none of these, neither of these two models are glued together right now. They are left just attached, or they're just press fit, is the word I was looking for. Makes it easier to paint some of these areas as I work through them. Again, I'm not being super neat. If I mess up and go over into an area, we will get that corrected next time. So, it appears I need to tape off my paint area a little bit more into where my streamlines are. So give me just a moment, I'll get that worked out. You get to see my fancy little trick for where not to put my models while I'm streaming. Line the tape up. Don't put anything in the blue area. It's really expensive solution, just some blue painter's tape. No models in blue area. Oops. That one went a little bit over. There we go. Alright. Need to get my reference pick pulled up as well for Sabine. We're going to go for a Season 1 look on her, I think. Because I like the black and, well, I like the armor design on Season 1 better. I know the last one I did was more of a Season 3, I think. But I want to go for the Season 1 look. So, that's what we're going to do here. Oops. Alright. Yep. She's also more of a red than a purple. So the last one I did was purple, and I want to try to do a different palette. And so one of these is my personal model, and one is for a customer. And of course, you know, I put my brand new fancy don't paint here area down, and then what do? I go paint directly right over it. We're just batting 1,000 tonight. Everyone, I promise it's not always this disorganized. I'm just a little stressed from the getting the stream up and running. So, let's relax, enjoy some painting, and we'll go from there. Less than 2 weeks until Gen Con if you're going. Excited to go myself. I am now taking my 8-year-old son with me. So that's going to be an adventure he's never been. I've only been once. I went last year. And taking him is going to be a new fun thing. He loves board gaming. He likes watching me play Star Wars Legion, which is what I'm doing Thursday. If you would like to find me, that's going to be the easiest spot to find me. I will be wearing a shirt that says It's black, and on the back it's got the Jagged Brush Studios logo in big white font, along with a Dan Wolfsgame logo below it. Come find me if you would like, and we can... I can't chit-chat too much if I'm in the middle of a game, but we can talk in between rounds. So, I'm going to try to get these girls done in about 2.5 hours, maybe. We did the last one in 2.5 hours, not including breaks or anything like that. So we'll see what we can do here. Alright, so main pants colors are done on one. And we will move on to getting her getting the blacks done on here. So we're going to use, for that, we're going to use Necromancer Cloak. As I said, for the pants, we're using Oak Brown from Army Painter. All other colors that we're going to use tonight are going to be Army color paints. For clarity purposes, I am sponsored by Army Painter, or have an agreement with them. But the only reason I was willing to be sponsored and come up with an agreement with them is because I believe in the products they make. So for my blacks, I'm going to use Necromancer Cloak. Squeeze a little bit more out on my wet palette. I know it looks like there's some on there, but that stuff's getting a little bit dry. And it'll come back to life as we start working on some of this other stuff. So we'll get her boots. Again, when I'm base coating, I'm not being super neat. I just talked about how I don't like this brush, and I'm just continuing to paint with it. If you're watching, let me know how the music levels are. I messed with them just a little bit prior to this stream. That's about the only thing I changed, which is why I was baffled as to why everything went all crazy go nuts on me. Pull her backpack off. It makes it much easier to paint without it on. Might take our hat off here in a second too. I know this isn't going to be a 100% true to Season 2 because many of these armor pieces she's wearing are more reminiscent of Season 3 armor as she upgraded over the seasons, but we can definitely get a close representation of Season 2. You know, it's Sabine. She kind of does her own thing. I don't know, we may end up going for a Season 2 paint job or Season 3 paint job. We will see. I may change my mind as we get to painting. I've done one of those. The only thing I don't like is don't like the owl shoulder piece. Her shoulder piece is really too small to get that painted on there. So and I keep saying Season 2, I mean Season 1. So we're painting all of this Necromancer Cloak. Everything you see me doing. So all the under armor, the boots, the gun, anywhere that's not armor plating is all getting Necromancer Cloak once over. And then adjust my lamp so I don't continue to hit my head on it. The only thing I may actually go with matte black on these two models is the Dark Saber when I get to mine. So mine is the one with the Dark Saber. Because that Dark Saber is supposed to be super dark, you know? So we'll probably go with that. My wet palette, unfortunately, is warped on the bottom, so it makes a nice little top as I try to work with it. So you'll see me adjust it frequently. Did not realize that until it was too late, and I'd already brought it home and opened it and started working on it, and then it can be super frustrating. But hey, it is what it is. I've got bigger issues to worry about sometimes than whether or not my white palette spins a little bit every once in a while. It's just a little bit. Alright, one down. We're going to get the hilt on this Dark Saber for now. We will come back over with some metallics on that, but putting it a base coat of the Necromancer Cloak really helps if you don't happen to get some of the metallics in one area as much as another. It helps to hide some of that if you make a mistake. So tip number one for the stream, you don't have to be a perfect painter if you know how to hide your mistakes. Again, my goal is to teach you how to paint models so that you can get them on the table looking good in as little time as possible. Because that's the number one complaint I hear, and it's an excuse I used to make is, well, I just don't have time to paint. So I made that same mistake or that same excuse for a very long time. And if you've watched the other stream, I was able to turn around 2 bosks in 2.5 hours. That, in my mind, they looked really good, and the customer was super happy with how it looked, and I'm super happy with mine. Won a paint award with it at ATC last weekend, so it must have looked okay, and I painted it at the same time as I painted another one. Back through my sniffles and my sneezes. Where I live, allergies are awful. I didn't used to have allergies until I moved out here to the south. I do now. And if I have any international viewers, when I reference the South, I mean the southern part of the United States. When I was growing up in California, allergies were not a problem I dealt with. Join the military, get stationed in Tennessee area, and all of a sudden, boom, allergies. There are days, my car is black, there are days during the bad pollen seasons that I'll go outside and my black car is a bright yellow color from the amount of pollen that is in the air here, so. I'm still trying to decide what I'm going to do. I need to make 2 2 content videos, and I think one of my content videos, though, is going to be, I will record while at Gen Con and upload some stuff while I'm at Gen Con. So I might try to record some stuff from the FFG area while I'm playing Legion. That'll probably be my content production for that week, is Gen Con data or info or whatever you want to say. Let's see here. If you're watching this and you haven't, whether you're watching it live or streamed or recorded is the word I'm looking for. I'm riding a struggle bus today, guys. If you're watching this and you haven't, whether it be live or recorded, please hit that like and subscribe button if you like what you're seeing. It really helps me out. Helps me know whether or not what I'm doing is being appreciated by my customers, or whether or not I need to change things up a little bit. Alright, I'm going to try to find a better shot of Sabine that I want to paint, because I don't want to do the owl. But it looks like we're going to end up doing the owl. So that's the thing. Nope, we're gonna go. Bear with me, I'm looking for my reference photo. No, we're going to go with this Sabine. We could do a Season 2 Sabine with the blue hair, and I think that's what we may just do. Yeah, we're going to do a Season 2 Sabine. Yep. Ta-da. Found the one I wanted. Alright. So we've got some oranges, some reds, red and orange armor, purple shoulder pad, it appears, Spring Wren. Let's look up Season 2. Now that I've got the basics. It's a blue shoulder pad. Okay. With like blue and green hair. Yeah, I like that one much better. Just checking some reference photos real quick. I mean, I'm not super concerned with it being perfect, but I want it to be a close representation at least, you know. All right. So for my red, I'm going to use a new red color that I'm really liking a lot called Abomination Gore. Hopefully that's coming into focus for us. maybe not. But Abomination Gore, get a little on my wet palette here. I have some right there as it is, but it's a little old, so we'll get some fresh stuff out there. As I throw Sabine into my palette and break her arm off. Well, don't break it off, it falls off, but alright. Let's get this thinned a little bit. And I just feel like it needs to be thinned just a touch more. Alright. Step 1. Paint. Paint this breastplate. And this knee pad. Okay. To my other one. Both of these are going to be the same season of paint. Well, same paint style. And as always, red paints tend to require a couple layers, so don't get too discouraged if you have to come back and do it again. She has elbow pads that need to be red that I was not paying attention to. Okay. Same thing on the other one. Need to get those elbow pads real quick. I like that they gave us 2 options for the right arm. I wish they would have given us 2 options for the left arm on her. Just to, because it feels like she's only got a half dynamic pose instead of, you know, different poses. Not like Bosk, who was completely customizable, or mostly customizable. How are we doing? Again, be careful applying those colors. Before you put that second layer on, make sure the first one's dry, otherwise you'll end up pulling off paint. And nobody likes pulling off paint. If you make a mistake, we'll come back, we'll touch them up later, don't stress about it. Mistakes onto black are the easiest one to cover up, because black paint covers up just about anything. The only place I've struggled with getting coverage of a mistake with black paint is over metallics, and I take a coat or 2 of black. But no big deal. And I say that because I got some red paint onto her belt buckle on the other model. So thin layers of red. Alright, for our orange, we're going to go with Lava Orange. Her oranges are a little more subdued, so we're going to go with that. It's a different orange than the last video I watched, because on the Season 3 model, she is much brighter orange. So we're going to go with this. And I try to keep my palette, like when I'm putting paint on my palette, I try to keep light colors together. So like all my blues in one area, my blues and greens, all my browns and yellows, all my reds, oranges, things like that. All my blacks and grays in one area. It just helps me visually know where I need to go on my palette when I'm trying to get stuff. So I've decided, because the reference models I've seen, she's not wearing this. This little arm computer she's wearing is going to be orange. A little bit of artistic license on that. I know it's blue on some of the other reference photos I've seen, but I want it to be orange. A little bit brighter pop of color there. And these plates on the back of her hand are going to be orange as well. Orange is another one of those colors. It's going to take you a couple coats, so take your time. Don't stress too much if you've got some colors showing through on the first layer. That's normal for orange. Almost more so than red. They're both terrible at coverage in general. We're going to get her boot plates here. Again, if you look at reference photos, I know these plates are a little bit larger because she's intended to be a Season 3 color model, but I really like the Season 2 or Season 1 colors better than the Season 3 one. I don't know why. It's just a thing, I guess. So I'm painting these armor plates on our boots. One knee was red plated, one kneecap is orange plated. So we got that painted. We're gonna get this other arm computer and the plates on that one. We gotta get her arm guards as well. So her elbow pads. Those are orange. And I'm gonna do her helmet on the one that's wearing a helmet. That's just gonna be, we're just gonna paint that all as one step when we get to the helmet. So I'm gonna actually take her helmet off for now. Because I really just want to focus on the helmet when we're doing it and use a fine tip brush when we're doing the helmet. So both of her collar pads here, one's red, so we'll grab that real quick once I rinse this brush off here in a second. Because even though I'm not even if I wasn't switching colors, I would rinse this brush off because it's had some orange paint on it for a little while, and I would hate for it to start drying in the bristles, and it makes the brush real hard to work with when that happens. So get those collar plates on this one. Okay, rinse off one more time. We forgot one place. I'm going to switch over to the brush I actually like instead of that red one. I'm actually going to try to work my number 2 because I'm having to go to my palette way too often on this orange. So Winsor & Newton number 2. Get a little bit of water in it, get some paint in it. Don't load your brushes up too far with paint. start working on some orange. If you have a 2 with a nice tip on it, you can do some pretty fine detail work with a number 2. You just gotta take your time. I've got some army painter brushes on the way. I'm excited to get those to the table, start using them. I've had some good experiences with their regiment brush. I've not used their other brushes, so I can't necessarily comment on them, but the regiment brush worked great until I just wore it out. Like I said, I abused it, it took it for a long time, and now it's relegated to a wash brush. Got some orange on her gun. We'll fix that up in a little bit. This one's was brand new, and it's acting like it was not, which is baffling me. Maybe I overloaded the brush, we'll see. Today's just been a rough night at the paint table. Alright, now it's working better. Acting more like it should. Each brush has its own unique character to it, and sometimes you have to learn their character as you paint with them. And so you'll see some of my favorite brushes are super worn out, but I know how they paint, so I tend to use them even though they're super worn out. Especially with some of the natural hair brushes, every single one acts a little bit different than the one before it, no matter what brand. They try to go for consistency, but natural hair brushes are just that. They're made from real hair. And I do prefer natural hair brushes. They perform different. I have some synthetics. Mostly from when I couldn't find the natural hair brushes local. They were out of them. So, alright, we're going to set that one aside and we're going to switch over to the other one. Alright, back of her hand here. Again, remember, oranges take a couple color or couple passes here. You'll see me turn my brush on my palette as I go into the paint. That's me trying to keep that and maintain that nice tip on the size 2. Again, like I said, I can paint with a size 2. I just typically choose not to. But it does save time because you're going into your paint palette less. So we're going to use it today because my other brushes were frustrating me just a little bit there. So. And when you're working with super thin brushes, or super thin paints, you do have to wash your brush a little bit more frequently. Otherwise that super wet paint will wick right up into the ferrule. And if you get it up into the ferrule of your brush, it is nearly impossible to get out, if not dealt with immediately. So you want paint to wick up about 2/3 of the way maximum up the barrel, they call it, which is the fat part of the bristles. I'm not even paying attention to whether or not this stream is coming through well. Hopefully it is. I know I'm not getting the audience I wanted because I had to restart the videos from where I shared around, but it is what it is. If you're watching and don't mind to share it around for me, that'd be swell. What are you doing this Friday or this Thursday evening while you watch me paint? Just as a heads up, there will not be any live streams next week. Family coming into town, and I'm going to spend some time with them. I might get to painting while I'm with them, but it won't be live, because I don't know exactly how often I'm going to get to the paint table, and how consistent it's going to be. Why am I getting split tip on this? On a brand new brush, I should not be getting snake tongue. Alright, so we decapitated this Sabine as well so that we could get to some of these harder to reach areas under her head. Really make sure you pull and twist across your palette to get that nice fine tip point if you're using a size 2. Part of the reason I don't typically use the size 2 is I do feel like I paint slower with it, because I have to be much more careful about getting the barrel places that I don't want paint to be. If you do subscribe, and you don't know when we go live, you can always hit the bell and turn on notifications, and you'll get a nice little pop-up whenever we go live. Typically, right now we're going live much more frequently than we will in the long run. Mostly because I'm trying to create content for the channel for you guys. And once we get a steady stream of content on the channel, enough to keep you tided over if you need more than what I do, we're probably going to cut back to once a week of once a week of streaming, once a week of technique videos or brief snippet videos of things I'm working on and how those projects are going. So enjoy the extra stream time if you like this like my stream while it lasts, because it is not planned to be this. Let's say I mean I'll consistently stream once a week. If I can get extra streams in, bonus streams per se, then we will. Alrighty, we're getting there on this one. I'd say this orange and some of this fine detail work is the longest part of the miniature, because you've got to be careful where you get some of this orange. It's in small spots. So, and it takes multiple coats, like a few coats. In some cases. All I've done to adhere her to this little handle that I've 3D printed myself is used a hot glue gun. Oops. Went way up on the boot. We will fix that with some Necromancer Cloak in a little while. Go back over these shin guards, over the knee pad, inside of this arm. Orange wasn't quite as bright as I want it to be. Same thing here. Like I said, we'll come back and we're going to touch up some of these areas with some black, so if you bleed over, no big deal. Don't stress. It'll work out. I need to clean my brush. You can get this, I think this is a Masterson Stay Wet palette or something like that. You can get them for roughly $10 in the US. I don't know what they would cost overseas. I like it. It works well for me. Especially if I'm working on like a large army that has a lot of custom colors that I've mixed up. It lets me keep some of those colors on the palette in between paint sessions so that I can color match and do all that fun stuff. Just about done with the orange on this one, so, alright. I am probably going to put this Winsor & Newton away for now and go back to my, where is it? My old trusty number 1 that I've been using for everything for a while. So one thing I did notice is that on some of this knee pad I didn't get the sides and the top, and this one specific breastplate needs a little bit more work. Same thing on the neck piece on this one. Needs another coat. I don't think I even got the, well, I painted both of them orange on the other metal. Whoops. We'll go fix that here in just a second. It's not really a touch-up, that was just a major boo-boo for color palette. Alright. So, I'm going to grab my very super fine tip brush here. We're going to go into a little bit thicker orange, and she has 2 orange stripes that run down this knee pad. We're going to try to get those on there real quick. One down. Two down. Alright. Well, we've got this brush out. We're going to go into our Spaceship Exterior here. So Army Painter, Spaceship Exterior, and she's got stripes on her chest plate that we're going to paint on. And we will end up painting the Phoenix on her left breastplate. So, she has two stripes. One right here. One right here. Alright, one down. Let's get the stripes on the other one. Alright. On to the Phoenix that's going to be on her chest plate. We're going to try to do this as neatly as possible. Pull her arm off real quick so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm just painting a C shape and then a line down the center. At the distances that you're going to view this thing, it's going to look like a phoenix, I promise. And we'll come back over and touch it up with a little bit more orange paint after a dress. So same thing here. C shape. Line down the center. On back to the other one, it should be dry enough now since we used very little paint. Just to really brighten it up a little bit, make it stand out. I'm trying to get used to this new camera, and it doesn't want to come into focus. Right? Oh, we were there. Come on now. Well, it's right there. Same thing on the other one. That's an easy way to do Rebel logos also that look great at tabletop distances. So, alright, while we're thinking about it, we're going to go into our leather brown here. And we're going to paint the inner lining of her pants. So, I'm going to paint her leather brown. This bottle has been well used, and I'm going to actually use my fine tip brush for this, just because some of these areas are hard to get to. Make sure you thin your paints out enough or else they'll streak, and nobody likes streaky paints. If you go over into the dark tones of the brown, you can always cover it up later. Don't stress too much. It'll be alright, I promise. mistakes are made, you can fix them. It's just acrylic paint. And you'd be amazed at when you wash these models with your wash, what washes help hide too. Again, you don't have to be a super duper painter if you know how to hide your mistakes. If you're going for Golden Daemon or Crystal Brush Awards, then this is probably not the paint job that you want to follow. As I paint off camera again. Good job, me. Because those are very specific techniques and stuff that you're going to need to use to paint to that level. And washing simple base coat wash highlight is not going to get you there. But if you want to field a table full of an army as quick as possible that looks good and people are like, oh hey, that looks really great, that's what I paint for. You win some painting awards in the process of doing so. Awesome. So I'd say we're about 70% base coated, and we're not even an hour into the stream yet on 2 different models. So now, painting 2, I will admit, painting 2 does not take much more time than painting 1, because a lot of your time is spent washing brushes in between paint colors, which is why a lot of times when I'm doing these streams, you'll see me paint my own alongside somebody else's. Because if I'm going to paint it, and I'm going to have those paint colors out, I might as well paint 2 of them. If I can. Assembly line painting is quicker than painting one model, painting another model, painting another model. If you're painting things like Rebel Troopers, or a whole bunch of skeletons for D&D, or I don't know, hordes of something or other, a bunch of orcs for 40k, a bunch of Imperial Guards for 40k, find a way to assembly line paint them. Meaning for instance, if I were painting 7 of these Sabines, I would do all of this part of pants at one time. And then I would do all of the chest plates at one time, and all of the armor pieces at one time, and on and on and on. Alright, back to the other one. Is it starting to dry? Get its second coat of this brown on there. Not everywhere needs to have a second coat of this brown, but I just want to make sure we've got good coverage. Some of it's a little bit thin for my tastes in some areas. And that's not due to a knock of the army painter. I over thinned it as I was painting a little bit. And I noticed some oak brown that I just completely missed, and I want that dry before I start working on some other things. Alright. Adjust for my back real quick. I have some matte black over here in the corner. It is not a very common color for you to see on my paint palette. I don't use it often at all. But this dark saber really needs to be black. Black as night for the glow effect that we're going to use to work properly. So we're going to go ahead and get this painted matte black. About the only thing I use this for, and the reason it's on my base, or my palette, is I use it on bases, because it really helps the miniature pop. And that's about it. If I'm just doing an all black base, matte black it is. So. Alright. For her shoulder, I've got this for one shoulder. I have this Daemonic Yellow. We're going to use that to paint the shoulder pads on the right arm. So need to make sure the yellows get mixed up real well. They do tend to separate a little bit. So make sure you get that done up real well. Checking something on the stream settings real quick. Let me check something over on my phone. Just checking something real quick while I wait for some paint to dry anyways. I'm excited to be able to go to Gen Con. I'm excited to go and get to see what's new out there. I'm really, really hoping that, oh lord, what am I trying to say? I'm really hoping that, Clone Wars gets released there. So, hopefully that's a thing. And I just realized that this video is listed as unlisted. Not sure what's going on there. So, maybe that's why y'all weren't able to see it. So, maybe we'll pick up a viewer or two now. Alright. Into the yellow. And this we need to thin a little bit. And then we're going to go onto this left shoulder pad. And this is going to take probably 4, maybe 5 coats of yellow in order for it to fully cover, especially some of this areas where we ended up getting black on. So be patient with it. Yellow is notoriously bad. Yellow, white, orange, red. Notoriously bad for coverage. So don't try to put it on too thick. Just be patient. Put a layer on. Go work on something else. Come back, put a layer on. That's how you save time when you're painting. So we're going to go ahead and put this layer on. We're going to also take my superfine tip brush and go right here in the center of her chest plate. There's a little dot thing. In that, we want yellow. At least it looks yellow on the picture I'm looking at. The reference photo. We're going to touch up some orange on this one here. Normally I don't do touch-ups, but it's bothering me. Alright. Also, some of this leather brown. While we are waiting on our yellow to dry further, we do need to address the other shoulder pad. So, we're going to dry fit the arms back on. Oops. Well, I accidentally snapped her off of my hot glue base, so we'll plug in my hot glue gun while I work on finding a color for her other arm. So it's kind of a color we're going to use. I've been using this a lot lately. Army Painter Griffon Blue. Right here. I've got some on my wet palette already, so I don't need to squeeze any out. It's right here in my corner, so it's this nice blue. We're not going to do the wolf on this one that you can see kind of on her armor. It's just difficult to get. If I were going for a competition paint, we would do the wolf. But I'm not, so we're just going with blue. We may, I don't know, I may put the wolf. We'll see, or try to put something that resembles a wolf on there. One down. One to go. I like this blue, it covers real well. It's a very neutral blue, I guess is what you could say. And alright, I've got to stop painting that one because she's falling off her base now. And if I keep trying to paint her, we will mess some things up, so we'll work on the other one while I wait for my hot glue gun to come to temperature. I don't edit out my bloopers, I don't edit out my anything. You guys get to see exactly what's going on in my paint station as I paint. Second coat of yellow onto the shoulder. We are going to do some quick and dirty checkerboard on this one once we get to that step. I do need to look up what her jetpack looks like on Season 2. Interesting. I don't see any reference photos with the jetpack. So we'll go with the season. Oh wait, here we go. Orange and red and black. That's what it kind of looks like. Orange, red, and black. Works for me. So we're going to pop the jetpack on this one's back. Maybe. Get in your home. So it's going to be black in the center, it appears. Yeah. Get my little fine tip brush. Black down the middle. You'll see me hold my brush in some weird positions while I'm painting. Works for me. If it doesn't work for you, find a way that's comfortable for you. Now we're going to try to paint this one in my hands while I wait for her to get glued back on her base here in a minute. So like I said, we're going to work on the heads and the helmets separately. They're going to get entire sections on their own. It'll be in this video. It's just I'm painting the body right now on both of these. Mainly because I really want to focus on the heads and the helmet on both of them because they're focal points of the model. And so spending just a little bit extra time on that is going to be super helpful. So the red centered piece. That Abomination Gore. Alright, I can smell my heat gun coming up to temp, or my hot glue gun coming up to temp, so it's almost ready. Uh-oh. Alright. Step one is to peel off the old hot glue. goes on there, as much of it as possible. It doesn't have to be perfectly clean. Trash it. Run a bead. And stick her back on. Alright, this time stay on your home, Sabine. Unplug. And we can put her backpack on. Alright. And then we're going to go into our lava orange and get both these sides. And we are going to paint the wings on there in a little bit. Don't worry about that. We'll get it. We gotta wait and get all the base coats done first on this. Alright, one down. I like Sabine. She's a fun paint palette to paint. I put my Griffon Blue back up. Usually I set my paints that I use to the side. That way, when I'm finished up, I can write in the description all the paint colors that I use for y'all, so that you can real quick, before even watching the video, if you want to paint alongside me, have all your paints ready to go. Bob Ross style, you know? Maybe one day I will get to the point to where I am able to edit these videos and flash them across the screen as I'm using them. But for live videos, it's not super conducive to do that. Unless I had somebody like in a studio somewhere. And I don't. It's just me with a paintbrush sitting at a desk. Right. We're going to go into our yellow. Again, like I said, we're going to get these yellows in there, in between layers of other things, so that we can get a nice bold yellow. And we'll go to the other one as well. Which, this is the third coat on this shoulder pad for her. And look, didn't that blue shoulder pad come out to just about the right color that we needed? I think so. I'm just looking at a couple things real quick. I did miss somewhere on my dark saber that I want to get touched. Alright, another coat of yellow onto the backpack. Did I say yellow? Another coat of orange onto the backpack, sorry. Not yellow. Same thing on the other one. I think that may be sufficient for what we're trying to accomplish on that backpack. The only thing we'll probably need to do is go touch up with some red paint on this one right in the middle. I know I said I don't do touch-ups till the end, but when I entirely cover an area with a paint color, we gotta fix that. Alright. So one other area that I realized I missed is these bands around her leg that hold her knee pads on are black, not brown. So it's not touching up, we're actually painting an area now. A color that we missed before. Same thing on the other knee. Bear with me as I'm still getting used to having a corner area here that I can't stream in, so if I accidentally paint over there for a second, I am sorry. While I've got the black out, let's touch up some of these boots where I got some orange on it real quick. Honestly, the wash will take care of a lot of it, but I've got black on my brush already. Might as well touch up some of it. Okay. Other one, we need to do the same thing. If you're just joining, thanks for joining. Welcome to the chat. Welcome to the stream. Drop your name in the... or drop a message from me in the chat box if you care to watch. Or care. Let me start that whole statement over. If you're just joining, thanks for joining me tonight, live streaming. Some Sabine Wren painting here. Drop me a message in the comments. I would love to interact with you. Let me know you're here. It has been a struggle tonight getting some painting going on the stream, but here we are. If you don't care to, let your friends know that we're painting here live, if you think it's something that they would be interested in seeing. And if you haven't, hit that like and subscribe button. And if you want to get notified when we go live here at Jagged Brush Studios, hit the bell also. Putting a second coat of this leather brown onto the interior of the pants. Okay. Alright, we need to go over our yellow yet again. Again, thin layers of yellow when you're painting shoulder pads and stuff. Thin layers. It's going to take a few. You don't want to goop up your paint or anything. Let me know how the stream's looking. Let me know how the audio's sounding. Alright. We're going to get these wings painted on. I need to pull up my reference photo again. Let's see what we can do to get that painted on. It's not going to be a perfect representation, but it will be close. It's a lot of small details to fit in a small area. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Well, we only fit 7 on there, but hey, better than nothing. Close enough for a Sabine paint job. Come into focus for me, Sabine. Some reason it will go into focus for just a second and then come out again. There we go. Oh, stay there. There we are. Well, it was there for a second. Same thing on the other one. And the second one. She came into focus for a second, I saw it. There it is. And one more time with the yellow. And that's probably about as yellow as we're going to get out of these. Alright. We are base coated on the bodies. Oops. As I touch her arm and drop it off. We're just going to let that sit for a second while that yellow dries. Alright, so our bodies are base coated. I'm going to get her helmet on and get this Sabine's head on. And we're actually going to take the arms off and the backpack off while we're working on the helmets and stuff. So, bear with me as I pull these Sabines apart. It makes it easier to work with. Alright. Let's see what her helmet looks like in Season 2. I'm having a hard time finding one with her helmet on. Give me just a moment. So it's that helmet. Okay. It's the red and orange version, which I've done one of those before. She's got a bunch of different helmet paint jobs, so... Just looking for a Sabine helmet. Picture that I like. Boo? Why boo? What are you booing me for? Or is it just, are you saying like, boo, as in trying to scare me? Alright, into my Gunmetal Gray. Welcome to the stream, Potato. Alright, Gunmetal Gray. Or not gray, Gunmetal Metallic. Like Ghost Boo, okay. I figured that's what it was, but you know. Funnily enough, my Stormtrooper video got a thumbs down, and I'm like, what the heck? What did I do to deserve that? Alright, let me get back in the middle of my paint stream here. How's your evening going, Potato? Thanks for joining. You are the first human interaction I've had in the stream tonight. Or potato interaction, I guess we could say. And we're going to take some Necromancer Cloak, and we're going to get it right down into the middle of this mask. And the eyepieces and stuff. And we're not going to be able to get all the stupid fine little details that she's got going on this mask. It's, for me, they didn't know how suave I am. Well, I mean, I guess that's a thing. Alright, I forgot to get the little antenna here. Good. Glad to hear it's going well, man. What are you working on project-wise? I am very sorry. This is a her. Maybe you assumed her gender. This model decided to be a guy. Taking a break for tonight. I wish I had break time. I've got to Legion paint and all the things paint until Gen Con. I need those Gen Con monies to buy more stuff that I don't need at Gen Con. Alright, so we're going into Abomination Gore to start working on some of this red on her mask. That's quite a lot. I don't paint 40K anymore. I mean, I can, and I have a customer that has asked me for a quote on it, and I've painted for him for a long time. I've done his entire Legion army. He wants me to paint some Tau for him, and I'll probably consider doing it, but man, 40K just has a lot. There's a lot that goes into painting 40K. And it takes so long. I don't know. Alright. For her, we're doing the pink helmet version. Because I've seen so many that say different colors and things. And so for the pink, once I get done shaking this paint up, I don't use this color very often, we're going to go with, it's actually Warlock Purple, but get that out in my palette here. How's my palette cam coming across? That's a new addition to my stream. I haven't had that yet, so you're the first person I could ask to tell me how it looks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to end up painting the whole dome of this helmet this pink color right now. And then we will cover it up with the other colors that we need once it dries. So pink, pink, and all the pinks. Good. I just wanted to make sure that it's visible. You can kind of see what I'm doing on my palette up there. Alright. And I'm taking a little bit of liberties with some of these paint schemes on this. Alright, so while that helmet's drying, we're going to work on this Sabine, who is actually going to be the head version, if it would come into focus. Anyways, it's her head. So, for her base flesh tone, I use this for almost all of my flesh tones. A blue bumblebee, huh? That's an interesting color scheme. For my base flesh tones, across the board almost, unless I'm doing certain things, I use Army Painter Tan Flesh. That has replaced Bugman's Glow for me, which used to be my go-to from Citadel. But I did finally find this color that I like as my base tone. You could go a little bit darker and go with a... there's a... Is it Barbarian Flesh? No. Maybe the Tan Flesh is the darkest one that I use. Never mind. Ignore me. I'm rambling. So, we'll get that squeezed out up here. Just a small little dot. And when I start working on faces and stuff, I do go to a pretty fine detail brush. Alright, so get all of her skin tone, paint it on. This will take a couple of coats, so don't be in too much of a hurry. Use a thin paint. You don't want to lose any of those details. Cardic Flesh for P3. I've used it before. I used it a long time ago when I used to use P3 paints. I have moved away from P3 paints. Not that they're bad. They're difficult to get a hold of, and I've been super happy with the Army Painter stuff. So I wouldn't be partnering with a brand that I didn't fully believe in, which is why I've partnered with Army Painter. So, first face tone down. We're going to go back over to the other one, and we're going to put a second coat of this pink on, because much like red, these pink colors don't go on. The P3 colors are very bright and contrasty. You are correct. They're what I started with, actually. They were the first paints I ever used, were P3, when it came to hobby painting. I bought a few back in the day when I started wargaming with Hordes. So I bought a few P3s. I had maybe 5 or 6 pots. I've since thrown them away. They dried out. But started with those, painted with them for a long time. Did enjoy them. And then I moved on to Citadel. And then I went through a phase where I was trying to find paints for as cheap as possible, and I actually painted with Liquitex Artist acrylics, and they worked well. And then my wife bought me an Army Painter Mega Set for Christmas almost 2 years ago now, and I've been hooked on them ever since. So, alright. Get my fine detail brush here. Go into some of the lava orange. And we've got to get, she has little orange lines that are easy to miss on her mask here. They may not come, I don't think they'll come across well on cam here, but when I take my pictures you'll be able to see them. So. Alright, we're going to go into my Abomination Gore here again. And will do, Potato, thanks. I will post pics on my Facebook. If you don't already follow me on Facebook, hit me up over there at Jagged Brush Studios. And I'll have the pics over there when I'm done tonight. I may hold off posting them till tomorrow. I'm doing some testing on analytics, so. The other biggest issue with P3 is locating them locally. So, but have a good night. Thanks for stopping by. Post some pictures of your stuff that you paint when you finish it tomorrow. I know I'm taking some liberties on this helmet. I'm trying to make it as easy as possible to paint, but still look Sabine-like. So alright, so our pink is about where I want it to be. So we're going to get into some of this lava orange again with my fine detail brush. We need a little bit more on our palette. So quick shake just to make sure it's not too separated. We don't need a whole lot. I'm going to work with it just a little bit thicker than I typically would for some of this detail work. I don't want it to flow as much, but not much thicker. Alright, so putting some of these details on our helmet. And then we'll go in and paint the red details over the orange once it's dry. So, working in layers here. And if you mess up too much, you can always cover it up with pink later, so don't feel bad. Like I just did. But that's okay. We can fix it. That is okay. Alright, into our Abomination Gore. We're going to do some of these little line work on this. So, she's going to get a dot right there. And then just a little hook shape there. Again, we're not going for super perfect, exact movie replica quality. We're just trying to make it look like Sabine. Same thing here. Circle. Little hook shape right there. Dot. Dot. And that's probably what we will stop with. And then we're going to cover up some of that orange with some of the pink on this one side that I made way too big, the orange section. Just trying to get it symmetrical on the two sides. There we go. Close as it's going to get. And touch up the red on this side. Okay. A little bit of orange, and then we will call this helmet finished. Well, I've got to put the black on the tip of the antenna, and then we will really be finished with it. and minor touch up to the antenna where I can see that I got some orange on it. Alright, one finished Sabine helmet. Let's see if I can get her in focus. If I touch my finger to it. Well, she was in focus for a second, so. Back to the other Sabine. Second coat of skin tone. Make sure you get the little bits of skin in between all of her hair stuff and the back of her neck. It's easy to miss. Especially on her Can I Speak to the Manager haircut. Alright, we're going to let that dry for a second. We're going to put this Sabine back together. I think we are actually ready to go ahead and glue her together, so. Because what we do is I wash and highlight all as one model. It helps to make the highlights flew. The only thing I won't glue together right now is going to be her foot down here, because this leg does detach. We'll get that glued on once we take her off this base. We'll glue it on before we put her onto her base. And I do realize we need to do the work on the shoulder pad, but we can do that with it glued on, so I did not forget. And the only other thing I'm not going to glue on is her helmet also. So here's where we're at on a base coated, mostly base coated Sabine. We are going to go ahead and I wait until that super glue is dry on her shoulder, because I don't want to get super glue on my brushes. If you get super glue on your brushes, oh, good night, they're difficult to get out. So, near impossible. You might as well just throw the brush away and start over. Alright. If you're just popping into the stream, thanks for stopping on by. Glad to have you. We're going to go ahead and paint her hair. The base of it's going to be that same Griffon Blue. So we're going to go into that Griffon Blue. Do I want Griffon Blue? No, I don't. The blue I'm going to use is actually going to be Electric Blue. And then we'll go into a different color after that. So Electric Blue. It's this color here on my paint palette. If you're just jumping in again, like I was saying, thanks for stopping by. Glad to have you. We are finishing up the base coats on two Sabines. One of them's done and base coated, minus the details on her yellow shoulder. Yellow. I just said yeller. Yellow shoulder pad. And then we will, we're going to wash them. And while they're washing, I will show you what I'm doing with the bases while the wash is drying. And then I will highlight and we'll be done. So we're getting close. We've gotten to where we're at in an hour and 45 minutes. We're not going to finish these in the 2-hour mark, but we could definitely get them done in 2.5 hours or so. If you're watching out there in YouTube land, feel free to drop a message in the comments for me. Let me know you're there. I would love to chat with you. And we're going to end up washing her hair with blue. So this one I'm not going to glue together because I don't like highlighting faces with arms and stuff in the way. So I'm going to, when we put her together, we won't glue her together. We'll put her together, we'll let the wash dry, and then we'll take her arms off so I can paint the face. But that's what we're going to do there. And then I think I have a nice, let me check my drawer here. We're going to go into this royal cloak color for the rest of her hair. Now, I've not used this paint color before, and I'm going to try to do, what I do use is Army Painter. Well, I just bought this. I think this bottle may have had some issues in transit because this is one of them I got from the war store that is not looking good. This looks like it was almost used. Yeah, this bottle is trash. You know, so much for that idea on that color. Let's see what I can get out of it. The medium had flowed all out of this, and I knew that was a risk I was going to take buying from the war store before they went out of business, was that I'd get some poor quality paints. We'll see if I can work with it. No, it's completely dried inside that bottle, so c'est la vie. We'll pick a different color and we'll probably do a slight mix. So we're going to take some of the Scaly Hide instead. We'll put some onto my palette here. And on my finger, apparently. And we're going to 50-50 mix that with some of that electric blue that we were using. And get a nice teal turquoise color. That's close to that color that we were wanting over there anyways. And we're going to come down here, make sure we thin it. And we're going to come down on the tips of her hair here. And then I'm going to try to feather it up just a little bit. It's not wet blending as the other undercoat has dried, but I've cleaned off my brush of most of it. And then we'll come back in and we'll brighten the further down tips again. This will take a couple coats to get the effect that we're going for. And feather up. And stippling works however you want to get that color feathered. Clean my brush and feather the edges again before it completely dries. So you got to work quick. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix in just a little bit more green and go for more of a greener color. And when we wash it blue, it will turn nice blue. And we're just going to hit the very tips of her hair with this, of that scaly green. Clean your brush off and feather it up into the other color. And you probably can't see it on camera, but there's a nice color transition down into the tips of her hair. So I did get some on her forehead, so we'll go back over with my base skin tone and we'll fix that. There we go. Let's see if I can get that in focus for you so you can see it. You can do it, camera. I know you can. Maybe. There we go. Oh, had it for a second. There we go. Touch up some of the brighter parts of her hair up top here with more electric yellow. Alright, we're going to let her dry. We're going to work on this shoulder pad over here, so we're going to go into some Spaceship Exterior, step 1. And we're going to paint our line around the outside of this shoulder pad. And that's going to be the basis for our checkerboard. Of course, I'm painting under my palette window again. I'm still adjusting to that, sorry. It may take me a stream or two, and we made a boo-boo. Alright. Wet my brush, and pull it over the area that I want to clean off. And I can even use my finger to wipe it off. Alright, so we have a nice ring around the outside of that. And then what we're going to do is we'll go into some almost unthinned Necromancer Cloak. And we'll start putting Checkerboard Pattern on. So dot, 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 dot. And I just do dot checkerboards. It's too small on here for me to get the squares on there. So dot checkerboards work for me on this. So checkerboards take time, have patience. My checkerboards are far from perfect. I mean, they'll look good at tabletop distance. There's certain skills that my hands are just too shaky for, and doing checkerboards is one of them. Just go touch up some of the blacks that don't touch necessarily. And then you can also go into back into your Spaceship Exterior and touch up some of the white areas if they you can dot them on also if you got some black, too much black in some small areas, like I did. Alright, and then I also need to go dot my yellow onto one area that I got some black under the yellow. This is when I do touch up, is right here. Okay. Let's see if I can get it to come into focus for you. Alright, the last step of this shoulder pad, we have to wait for the yellow to dry. So we're going to do the same thing on the other one. We'll put her arm back on real quick. Into our Spaceship Exterior, gray. And we'll do our line around the edge. A little bit too thick on the paint there. If you paint your white line too thin, your checkerboard's going to become near impossible, so keep that in mind. Alright. The other way you could do this dot technique is with a toothpick. I don't, mostly because I don't keep toothpicks in my paint room, but alright, one more again. Trying to get it up here so you can see what I'm doing. Just have a bead of paint and then I'm dotting it. Again, makes a good effect for how small you're working with here. And I over dotted on that one, so we'll fix that area with some white in a bit. If you really wanted to spend a lot of time doing this, you could try to do the square checkerboards. I don't have the patience for that. And I shook and put a nice big dot on an area I don't need a nice big dot, so. God bless America, I did it again. Wheel, the top of her shoulder pad is giving me some troubles. We'll get it fixed. No worries. That's what our yellow's for. And then into our white to clean up some of the black blobs that we added on accident. Well, it's a Spaceship Exterior, not white, but our white equivalent. Again, I hardly ever paint with pure black, and I hardly ever paint with pure white. Alright, on to the other shoulder pad again. We need to add our, what looks like a 5, but it's really not. So, it's a line with a backward C below it. So we're going to go line, backward C. Like that. And once it dries, I overshot the line on the top, so we'll put some yellow on it to help it out a little bit. and once the yellow on the other shoulder pad dries, we'll be done with that. Get some skin tone on one spot on her face that doesn't seem to have enough. Okay. And I'm going to pull her head off while I can. And get her collar that I seem to have missed on this one. Alright. I think her shoulder pad's dry, so we can paint our design on this side. I've decided we're not putting the wolf on the other side. So our line, and then our little backwards C underneath. It's not quite as bright as I want it to be, so we'll touch it up a little bit. And then we're going to take some almost undiluted yellow, because I messed it up, and touch it up in the center so it looks right. There we go. Same thing, cover up the red on the other one. We're just going to take a dot of undiluted yellow and clean up that line there. So I keep waffling on whether or not to try to do the wolf. I'm going to take some Necromancer Cloak and mix just a little Griffon Blue in there. And make the semblance of something going on over here. It may not be a perfect wolf, but it's going to look like... No, I can't. No, I don't like that at all. Well, paint it over it, and it'll just be a blue. Ta-da! Fixed. Alright, so we're going to wash this Sabine with the head. That's not a helmet. We're going to wash her without her head on, because I don't want to get dark tone on her head. So they're both gonna get dark tone that's been just a touch thinned all over the place. So we'll cover up our wet palette for the time being. Put my wash palette out. Clean out a couple of my paint wells real quick. Alright. Dark tone. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 drops. That's what I'm using. I'm going to take, since I'm adding some water to it, I'm going to take a drop of Flow Aid and throw it in there. Literally 1 drop of Flow Aid. And then I'll probably put like 1 or 2, maybe 2 drops of water in there. 1, 2, 3, actually. Alright, grab my wash brush. See how that thinned out for me. Yeah, alright. And wash all the things. Wash all the things. And then on the orange and on the pad, we're going to wash it. Then we'll get wet our brush cleaned off, and we'll come back and get the areas that we don't want to be too black. So like the backs of her hand, some of the other areas. So, and we'll do that throughout the whole miniature. So we'll wash her chest plate. And actually it flowed pretty well on the chest plate, so we don't need to do that thinning trick. And I'm probably washing right under my wet palette, or my palette, aren't I? Again, I'm still adjusting to that being a thing on my stream. Alright. What we will go do is on the inside of this thigh. She's got a weird pool that I don't like forming there. She got a little bit more in her crevices in there that I didn't want. onto the Jetpack. Across her shoulders, and her shoulder pad, and up to the gun. We will hit some metallic onto that gun as highlight. Not right now. We'll use the metallic to highlight the gun, and it really makes it kind of pop. So we're going to get this shoulder pad wet and rinsed off. Back of her hand. Really keep an eye out for anywhere you may have missed getting wash applied, because it stands out like a sore thumb later. So like under this hand I can see I missed. Under the dark saber. On this entire leg apparently. Okay. Alright. On to the other one. Same thing here. We're going to go over the whole head with this, the whole helmet. But then as soon as I get it applied to the whole helmet, we're going to wet my brush and we're going to rinse off the pink areas. A little bit. Okay. Backpack. Got a little bit much, so wet my brush, pull it off. I'm avoiding that blue shoulder pad because it's still a little bit wet. Hopefully it'll dry here soon. Get the upper body, torso. Rinse off my brush. Get this yellow shoulder pad cleaned off. Get this arm. I think we're going to have just made just the perfect amount of wash for what we need. Start getting the other arm. And try not to apply a wash to an area until you're ready to work that area. Because if you do, what'll happen is it could start drying before you're ready to work that area. And let gravity work for you. So start at the top, work your way down. Alrighty. Let's get under this arm. We're going to pop the head on the other one loosely. And we're going to flesh wash that one. So Army Painter flesh wash. You really need like one drop. I'm going to use a smaller brush to apply that. Make sure you get all the areas where your flesh is showing. But don't put it on too thick like I just did. If you do, clean your brush off and pull it off. Alright. And then for the hair, let's pull down the washes that I'm using. For the hair, not purple. We have a blue tone. Green. Somewhere here I have a blue tone. Military. Oh, blue tone, where are you? Military, purple, green, class. So, I seem to have misplaced my blue tone. I used it on Orly the other day when I painted Orly. So, it's gotta be here somewhere. Deep blue. Did I throw it back in my drawer here? Let me look. By accident. Soft, dark. Well, that's a conundrum. That is an issue. This is clear purple. Purple tone. Military shader. Soft tone. Strong tone. Flesh wash. Quick shade red tone. Well, cool. I was really counting on having that blue tone that I can't find in my paint rack. Oh, I pulled it out already. I'm a dork. Blue tone. Duh. And we're going to use a fine brush on this one again. And we're going to go over the hair with it. It doesn't take a whole lot. This blue tone is really rich. Just make sure with the hair that you streak it down in the direction the hair needs to go. And if I can get it in focus, had it for a second. Well, it's there. So, alright, we're gonna put these down to dry real quick. They shouldn't take too long. Stick them down here. I have a fan in as I throw them. Wow. Good job, Dustin. You are doing great today. I knocked her arm off. What I have is a fan underneath my desk. I am riding the absolute struggle bus today. So you can see that miniature painters who do this regularly don't have perfect days. I'm going to put you on mute real quick while I take a drink of water. Wow. What I'm going to do for my bases is I have these bases made up. What I've done is I've taken some Liquitex Resin Sand, thrown some brown Army Painter leather paint into it, and I'm going to take some Strong Tone and I'm going to wash them. And what I typically do is I sit down one night when I don't feel like painting a whole bunch, turn on a Netflix movie, show, whatever I want to watch, and I texture a bunch of bases. And I pull them out of my personal army collection, and when I get a commission in that requires some, I'll pull them out pre-textured, and that lets me get commissions out the door quicker, because then I don't have to wait for this texturing to dry before it's ready to go. Make sure you cover everywhere, spread that wash around, and I'm going to throw that down in front to dry as well. So, I'm going to step away for a minute and take a break, get up, move around, see if I can't shake off these whatever is causing me some issues. I'll be right back, 5-10 minutes or so. We will be right back. Alright everyone, I am back. How are you doing? Real quickly, I made a microphone pop guard for my mic while I was away for a second, because I realized in some of my old videos that y'all were maybe hearing me breathe a little bit. Let's see. Filters, audio filters, clues. Trying to work on some of that. Advanced audio properties. Alright. Let's take a look at how our Sabines are going, huh? We are almost all the way dry on that one. That fan blowing on it really helps them to dry real quick so you can get to working on it. So, it's not going to take us long to highlight these up. Let me get the video turned back on here. Not going to take us long at all. Honestly, so... We're going to start with the face on this Sabine. I always start with the face when I come back to highlighting. So, first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our base tone. And we're going to hit the cheeks. This is going to be a large area. I haven't done skin tones on this channel yet, so this is going to be... We're going to get almost everything except just the deepest recesses. So, the nose... top of the lip. We're going to get the forehead up here. Really make sure you hit all the spots. Cheeks. The whole cheekbone is going to get covered. Like I said, I need to take her arm off. It's getting in my way, and if we're just going to take them both off, it makes it easier for me to work. Because if you don't, you have to work around it. So, and work with some thinner, when you're doing your highlighting, especially on skin tones, work with thin colors. This first initial base tone doesn't have to be as thin as some of the others, but after this you really want to thin your paints a little bit so it blends nicely. Alright. What I'm going to highlight up to is going to be this Elven Flesh. And we're going to work in... I need to shake it real well because I haven't used it in a minute. Do I want to go up to Elven Flesh or... No, yeah, we'll go up to Elven Flesh. So... And we're going to put this over here. And you don't need much of the Elven Flesh because we're not going to end up using a whole lot of it. And we're going to end up building a gradient from here to there as we work. So we're going to take probably 2 parts of the tan flesh and about 1 part of the Elven Flesh. And we're going to mix those together. Until I get the right color, I'll add some more of this tan flesh in there. And it should be just a slight coloration difference. Just a little bit lighter. And really want to thin it out. Remember, like I said, you want to be able to blend these tones. So when you paint it onto the back of your nail, it should be almost transparent. But I promise you'll get the effect you want. So we're going to go larger areas with this. Top of the cheek, or we're going to go to the cheekbones, the large cheekbones. We're going to do the whole cheekbone with this, except right up next to the hair. And what you're going to do with your highlights is you're going to work in increasingly diminishing areas. So, bridge of the nose for sure, top of the lip, and small area on the forehead here. Alright, next we're going to pull a little bit of Elven Flesh in and grab some of that color we were already working with, and we're just going to move it over here into a little bit of a gradient. Alright, a little bit of water, lighter color. When you're working with stuff this thin, it doesn't take much to dry. Smaller area even. So we're about a 50-50 blend now. And I'm just getting the higher areas of the cheekbones. Right at the front of the lip under the nose. The chin. And then we're going to pull over some more Elven Flesh. And now we're about a 2-to-1 Elven Flesh to tan flesh. We're going to get some of just the higher highlight areas with this. Right in the front of the chin. We're not going to hit under the lip anymore with this. Right on the cheek. And then almost pure Elven Flesh now. And we're just going to do some spot gloss highlights with this. So the very tip of the nose. Really where it's bright. Very tip of the cheekbones. Alright. Just blending in some of the color tones real quick. There we go. I'm edging some of the cheekbone here. Same thing on the other side, the jawline. Alright. We're going to try to get her eyes here. She does have dark eyeliner on, so we will try to get some of that black around her eyes by painting some Necromancer Cloak into the eye sockets. Again, you don't have to do all this if you don't want. If you mess up, take some of your base tone and touch up. Alright, I want to get some fresh Spaceship Exterior for doing her eyes, because I want it to be a little bit thicker. So just a small bit on my tip of my brush. And then back to my Necromancer Cloak. And I do my irises up and down. Yeah, I covered up that whole eye. So we'll let that dry for a quick second. It won't take long. And touch my eye up. Alright, take some of my base tone, skin tone, and touch up under the eye. And then I'm going to try to replace that highlighter, or eyeliner. It's a never-ending battle sometimes. So I washed the area with some water, and I'm trying to fix it. Okay. I'm going to replace some of my highlights on the cheek that I lost when I was doing that. Alright. And for her mouth, her lips, I'm going to take a little bit of Abomination Gore and a little bit of my base tone and mix them. And that's going to go under her lips. And then that's it for her face. When completed, Sabine Wren face. Let's see if I can get it in focus good enough for you to see. I wonder, test an idea here. See if I make her the brightest thing under this. Yeah, that's what we'll do. That's what we look like. Okay. So, now that I've got that finished, we need to work on our hair. So we're going to go back into our electric blue. We're just going to pick out some strands. This head and this stuff is going to be the longest highlighting part. And then the rest of the body is not going to take long. Be very... what's the word I'm looking for? Conservative with the amount of highlights you use here. You just want to pull out some of the larger, more noticeable strands of hair. Don't lose all that nice deep blue color that you've added by covering it all up, so be somewhat conservative. I'm kind of using the side of my brush and highlighting with the side of my brush here. And then we're going to go into that green mixture that we made of the green and the electric blue here. And we're going to highlight some of the, bring out the tips again. But make sure you thin it, like I just didn't do. And bring back some of that beautiful green tips that she has in her hair. Or the turquoise looking tips. The more you thin it, the easier it's going to be to feather up into the blues. Almost done with this. And then we can move on to highlighting everything else. Okay. Alright. So, I'm going to glue her back together, because she is done. But I want her face to dry first. And then I'm going to show you my trick with the Dark Saber also. So first we're going to do, before I glue it on, we're going to take some Spaceship Exterior on the side of this brush, and we're going to hit all of the edges. And if it's not a perfectly straight line, that is fine, because it's supposed to look like some glow. So top and bottom. Alright, and then what I'm also going to do is I have a bit of sponge just out of a, I don't know, it's foam of some sort, out of some packing material somewhere. Sprue packing, I don't know, I'm not quite sure. So we're going to take this sponge, tear it down, dip it directly into the Spaceship Exterior, dot some of it off, and then we're going to gently dot it onto the Dark Saber to give it some crackle effect. What this helps do is provide some randomization to the crackle and prevents you from inadvertently applying a pattern with your brush. So that's the effect you end up with. Let's see if I can get this to focus on that. That's the effect you end up with. It'll show up in the picture, I promise. So, we can pull her head off now. Detach her head. She's coming off of her base. Cool. Good thing we're almost done. Sorry. Realized I missed the top of her boot here. But that's okay. First step of highlighting. Put her arm back on one side. On her Naruto run pose. Just what it looks like to me. Way too much super glue around her neck. That's just gonna blob as soon as I put the head on there. And push it down. Yeah, I'm going to have to reheat my hot glue gun to get her rebased before I can paint her. So we'll work on the highlights on the other one. It's not going to take long now. Other arm. She's all glued together now. And while glue and stuff dries on that one, we're going to go over to the other one. And we're working some highlighting. So, first place to highlight, we need to go into our purple. Warlock Purple that we were using. I put it away. And we're going to thin it out a little bit, and we're going to hit some of the highlights on the helmet. Just on the very top. And that's really all we're going to highlight on the helmet is the purple. We really want that purple to be a good bright color. So, get it good and thinned, and highlight the purple. Okay. We're going to go into our Griffon Blue. Mix in just a touch of that electric blue to make a highlight color. Not much. Just slightly lighter. And we're going to highlight the top of this shoulder pad. Maybe a little bit more of that electric blue in there. Get it a little bit brighter. Okay. Then we're going to go into our orange. We're going to highlight all of our orange areas that need highlighting. So back of the glove here. Top of the arm. All of these little details on that. Top of the arm over here as I paint under my palette again. Under my palette cam. We're going to get the collar piece. Get some of the highlights on the breastplate. We may have to go over the whites again, the details, but because, you know, I made a mistake and boo-booed onto it, but that's fine. It's salvageable. That plate inside the arm here. You really want to brighten up some of her colors because Sabine is bright. We're going to highlight up some of this jetpack here. Just the top orange areas that could be brightened a little bit. Alright. Same thing on the helmet though. Like I said we were only going to do the pink. We're going to get a couple of the orange areas also. Okay. Back onto that collarbone again. I didn't get quite enough orange on there. Same thing on this breastplate. Okay. And this knee pad. Just some edge highlighting there. Alright. Oranges are done as soon as I finish this arm band. And this little bit of this hand here. Alright, I need to stop. Or else I'll just keep doing this over and over and over again. And I just said I need to stop and I'm going to do it again. Okay. Alright. I'm rushing and I'm not stopping. Okay, into the Abomination Gore. We're going to get this little bit here. We're going to do some of the chest plate, but we don't want to mess up our beautiful phoenix there, so it may just take a dot. We're going to do some of this knee pad. And really, we're going to get the back of the shoulder here. Be careful. It's harder to touch up during the highlight phase, so take your time. Alright. We're going to go into our leather brown. And we're going to touch up the thigh, top of the thigh area here. Make sure you thin this down real well, else it won't blend right. So get it fairly thin. You want to blend your highlights. Inside of the thigh here. Buttocks area. Really want to brighten it up, but leave a little bit of a gap so it looks like she's got natural curvature. People don't have perfectly flat butts. They do curve some. Alright. We're going to take some of that leather brown again. We're going to do some edge highlighting on the darker areas. So here on some of the leather, and make it look scratched and used and worn. So just take the edge of your brush and run it along some of the edges of some of the darker leather areas of the holsters and stuff. Really give it some character. It doesn't matter if it's perfect. We're looking for character here. Think of areas that you think would get scratched, like the edge of holsters, things like that, and you want to do that with those. So belts, edges, things like that. Okay. Alright, we're going to take some of that oak brown on our brush, and that's going to be our highlight color as well for the oak brown. And we're going to take like a 2-to-1 oak brown to leather as our highlight color, leather brown, for the oak brown. Try to keep paint from getting up in the ferrule with this brush. Alright, I can smell my hot glue gun, so we're going to reapply real quick. And I'm just going to hit the areas where her feet goes because I can see where they go. Well, that didn't work. Tried too quick. Work fast, Dustin, work fast. There we go. Oh, and that's what I didn't want to happen. You gotta be careful with the hot glue guns for stringing. We're gonna let her dry over there. Go into this highlight color that I was talking about. We're gonna get some of the center. Like highlight her legs real quick. Give her some definition. I want it just a touch lighter. Because right now it's not differentiating between it and the regular oak brown. There we go. Alright. And last, we're going to highlight our black. We're going to come back in with just plain... Well, not last. We have to do the guns in metallic still. Just plain Necromancer Cloak is what we're going to highlight with. Nothing super fancy. Just enough to make it show, hey, these shine a little bit. Let me unplug my hot glue gun. Alright, so for the two pistols, we're going to go into some gunmetal. need to get a little bit more down, just because. Be sparing with your metallics, they go a long ways. And we're going to pick out some high edge highlights with this. So I'm using just the edge of my brush and running it along the edges. Same thing on the other side. Edge of my brush at an angle, run it along the edges. Same thing, edge highlight on the other side. Just give it some color. And then take your fine tip brush. She's got a belt buckle. Paint it on. And then she's got this thing on her belt. Alright. Touch up some of the metallics on the helmet. And this Sabine is done. We can finish the other one. Just giving our pack a little bit of scrapes and scratches and stuff. And then onto this arm piece, I want some metallic bits on there. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. So it's almost like dry brushing, but not. Alright, once Sabine down. Let's see if I can get you a decent shot of what she looks like. Let's swap this up. It's not wanting to come in focus now. There we are. For a second. So, we'll get pictures on the Facebook site. Alright, on to my other one. Alright, so for the Dark Saber, we're going to start with our metallics this time since I've already been working on it on my brush. We need to get the handle a little bit. And her gun. Much like the other ones, use the edge of your brush. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and paint the buckle on while I'm here. Whatever this thing is on her belt, communicator or something. And the scrapes on the back of her backpack. Alright. Next we're going to do our orange highlights. With the mythical orange. Or lava orange, sorry. I used mythical orange on the last one I did. We should be able to finish both of these in about 3 hours of paint time. Of actual time painting, not including breaks or talking downtime or anything like that, so. I have to go back and touch up the white stripe on that other one before I forget. So we'll grab that in just a minute. Getting there, getting there. Get the armband. Get the armband. Alright. Get the jetpack in the back of her shoulder pad. Here, jetpack. Elbow pad on this one. Really want to try to bring back some of those orange colors that we lost with the wash. Okay. One more spot and then we'll be done with the orange for now. Collarbone again. Alright, we're going to go into that blue highlight that we mixed up over here. And we'll get her shoulder pad. Okay. We're going to go into our Abomination Gore red and do those highlights. Being careful not to make mistakes with the red. Highlight the jetpack here. The knee pad needs some edge highlighting. On this one I may actually go in and bring back my orange stripes on that knee pad because they're gone. They're just completely gone. So, touching up our chest pad here, chest plate. Let's go ahead and go do that I was talking about. Bring back our orange stripes. Okay. While I'm thinking about it, let's go ahead and bring back our white stripes on the other one that I accidentally painted over. We're going to brighten these white stripes on this one too. Really make them pop. The other thing we're going to do that I forgot on this other one is just a touch of yellow right on the top of the shoulder pad and really make it kind of glisten a little bit. Just a little dab. Nothing super fancy. Same thing here. Just a little dab. Alright. And then our Necromancer Cloak, we'll hit our black areas. And then we'll do our browns, and then we'll be done. And then we're on to basing. Pick out some of the thumbs here, the fingers. Okay. Leather brown. Thin it out. And highlight that interior parts of the pant legs. Thin, thin, thin. Buttocks area. Right here on the thighs. Give her some dimension to her body. And And this one I may actually go into some skeleton bone that I have over there, just a little bit, and bring up some of these highlights just a little bit further on mine. Just a touch. Okay. All right. To that, remake my oak brown and leather brown mixture over here. And that's going to be our other pants highlight. Okay, pure leather brown to do some of that edge leather work that we were talking about before. Get out from under my palette cam. It's going to take me quite a little while to get used to that, because I naturally lean to that side when I sit, so because I lean on my left arm while I'm painting. But we're almost done. Okay. Let's get my gunmetal highlights down the metallic things on her arms and stuff that I was doing like the other one. And I think that's one completed Sabine as soon as I touch up one little area that needs a little bit of highlight work. Okay. Another completed Sabine. Let's see if I can get this one in focus for you. Probably not. For a second. For a second she was there. There we go. Alright. Let's do our bases up real quick. What do you say? So, they're dry. Take my dry brush. And I'm going to go in here and grab some of that leather brown that we were working with. And I'm going to dry brush. And leather. I'm going to dry brush one direction and then the other direction. One direction and then the other direction. Then I'm going to grab some skeleton bone, dry brush all that off, and we're going to go over it again. Really brighten up some of those dirt tops. Again. And here's where we're at with those so far. Why am I getting an email this late? Okay. And then I'm probably just going to do a little bit of Spaceship Exterior into that to lighten it. And then really subtle light dry brushing on that. Alright, rinse that brush out. Dry brushes you gotta rinse out pretty well. Alright, let me cover up my wet palette because we don't need that no more. Sabine uses so many colors. We need this, my cheapy palette. We also need this fancy washable glue. That's what I use to adhere stuff to my bases. So PVA glue is what it is essentially. I got this brand for like 99 cents a bottle at the store, or cheaper, I don't remember. We're going to apply some grass. And I have this ratty old, this is my glue brush. It's hard as a rock. That's all this does is glue. And we're going to put some grass on this base. Just randomize it as much as possible. But you don't want to cover the whole thing. Add some patches here and there. Like that. And then what I do from here is, that's not the brand, that's just a container that I use, is I take my grass bucket, the Army Painter flock, dunk upside down. I'm going to take my headset off for a second. What I'm going to do is blow the grass off. And when I'm blowing the grass off, I blow up and at an angle from underneath the base, kind of, and it helps the grass stand up. So we'll do one more. But don't lose all that pretty dirt that you've added to your base. So good random grass splotches are good. So don't cover up the whole thing with grass unless that's the look you're going for. So tap it off. Take my headset off again while I blow grass off. Alright, so this can go to the wayside now. And ta-da, 2 bases. So for Helmet Sabine, which is for a customer, super glue, onto her base, push and hold for a second, make sure you're getting her on there straight. She's all done. I'm not sure what happened to the music stream. It seems to have crashed. Let me fix that real quick. For my Sabine, same thing. I did notice an area where I messed up. So before we put her on her base, we will fix that too. Right here, I got some orange on the inside of her boot. So Necromancer Cloak, and it's fixed. Ta-da. Super glue to her base. And I'm going to add a couple more decorations onto my Sabine space. and then we will call it done. Here's where we're at so far. I'm going to go into my little special container of bits. And first off, where did my tweezers go? Right here. Alright, so first things first, we need maybe a rock or two. So 1, 2, maybe a super small stick would be cool. It is. I have an indoor table, so and maybe this piece of dead wood. It's too dead. Maybe this piece of broken wood. Nope. I don't know what this is, but it looks like it would be cool on the base, so. Okay. What I'm going to do is we will touch that into some PVA glue. Put it on there. Take a rock. Touch it into some PVA glue. Find a good spot for it. Maybe right there. Another rock. Touch it into some PVA glue. Find another good spot for it. Maybe right there. Take the stick, which is really a leaf. It's the centerpiece of a leaf. But at this scale, it's going to look like a stick on her vase. Touch it into some PVA glue. And maybe put it laying across the top of a rock. Like so. Okay. When that all dries up, I'll get you some pictures here in just a minute. But we have 2 completed Sabine models done up on stream. I know we can't really see on the stream right here, but 2 completed Sabine models in about 3 hours work time, if not a little bit less. I appreciate you stopping by. Thanks so much for visiting me and spending your time with me tonight. My name's Dustin, Jagged Brush Studios. I am out for the night. Get out there and paint some more minis.